Yo YouTube, what's up? I'm Tim. He's AC making his triumphant return. We got KJ on the line. KJ, what's up?
What's up, man?
Nothing
How's
really.
it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. It'd be better if you were here, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, we found that one out. This video is basically, we're going to do a playoff preview later on, but really we're screwed right now because all the teams in the playoffs, we don't know their situations. So an interesting topic came up yesterday, and it's why does the national media hate Philly? First, let's start off with the Donovan McNabb thing. Like, why do you think everyone thinks that Philly just basically, every single person trashed on McNabb when it was really just a couple?
Because he's so inconsistent.
Well, yeah, he was.
He's inconsistent. He's got to be the greatest quarterback in Eagles history.
Oh yeah, easily. But I think he's so overrated by the national media. It's not even funny. But he's underrated by the people in Philly. That being said, though, I don't think that every single person in Philly was rooting against Donovan McNabb this whole time here. And
they weren't.
And KJ, you're a Steelers fan. What do you think?
Well, I think the Philadelphia Eagles fans really underestimated him. I think that the problem with them, though, they get too lopsided with things. Once they get a mindset on one thing, they all jump on that. And since Donovan had he was on and off a lot last year, especially, that they didn't like him for that reason. Then coming to see him again, that's why they're probably giving him the booze and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true, and he was inconsistent. The bottom line is if you don't win, you're not going to be loved. You might be
especially not in Philly.
And so let's get to a few other things. Like the fan puking in Philly, that got huge attention. Some guy's drunk, stuck his hand down his throat, puked on a little girl. But honestly, why does that represent what all Philly fans are? Like,
because that's what the national perspective is on Philadelphia. That could have happened anywhere.
Yeah, I know. There's 45,000 people in the stadium. At least the fans are showing up. And you're going to blame one guy who gets drunk, who was from New Jersey, probably not even a real Phillies fan. He's probably one of those bandwagon people. Like, why does that represent what the whole city does? And the next thing I came up with a few other things of cities that basically did the same thing and don't get trashed. New York, Ryan Howard got injured in a game this year, and they showed it at Citi Field, and the fans were cheering. So why didn't that get bad?
That's the same thing as what happened in the '90s when Michael Irvin got hurt. I mean, that was Michael Irvin's.
Yeah, basically, quite frankly, I think it's just a rep that maybe New York and Philly have a difference because I think more so there's more things that happens in Philly, whether it is people from Philly or just people that, like you said, that come maybe from New Jersey, say, and just make them look bad, but,
Yeah.
I think it's just the difference in, like city reps and whatnot.
And the Cleveland thing, so let's go to LeBron. Why aren't they getting trashed? I mean, they got a little trash when they burned the LeBron jerseys, but they booed a guy out of his stadium. Booed him. He had to be escorted out of the stadium for wearing a LeBron Miami Heat jersey. He got booed out of the stadium. Like, isn't that a bit worse?
They felt a lot of betrayal.
Yeah, and they should, but like, why is that any different?
It's not any different. That was one thing. I have to say, the Cleveland fans, they showed to me their true colors at that moment, but I don't think they have a reason to be pissed off.
Yeah,
they haven't won a pro championship since '61.
And I think Cleveland fans are real fans. I like Cleveland fans for doing that more than I like Miami Heat fans who don't even show up when they only have Dwayne Wade. But now they're going to sell out every game because they're going to get all these bandwagon people in it. Another thing, that everyone goes back to the guy throwing a snowball at Santa 40 years ago.
We're never going to live that down.
Like, it's one guy, he's probably drunk. From what I was told, the Santa Claus was drunk too, so he might have had it coming. That's what I heard on Tony Bruno. But
if you understand and you read into the entire of what happened that season and why they were upset and why they were pissed off and why they did what they did, the fans, then you would understand why they did what they did.
But nobody
reads into it, and we don't have time to do all that right now.
And like, everyone says that the Philly fans don't show up when they're bad or they boo or something. So what do you want? You want to be like the Chicago Cubs fans where you just cheer for everyone? You don't want a championship for 100 years?
KJ, what do you think about that?
What'd you say?
Like, the Chicago Cubs fans, they cheer and they're like, oh, you can't boo, you won't win. They haven't won a championship for 100 years, and then Philly gets a bad rap.
Yeah, well, sometimes you need to. I'm not saying you always need to do. Sometimes you need to boo them
Yeah.
to kind of get them going. I mean, you got to give them a reason to want to actually play and make their fans happy. I mean, if they always think their fans are happy, they're not going to do anything else to improve.
This man knows what's up. And the last thing, like, I think another thing is, let's look at the national media. If you look at them, they picked, like, the Mets to win the World Series every year, which I just think is comical, because I do better baseball previews than the people at ESPN do. But I think 80% of the national media is New York people, and they want to go hate on Philly when Philly beats their teams. Well,
you know, they a lot of the people come from New York.
Yeah, and
a lot of the people come from New York. A lot of people that come.
And New York's a big city, and LA's a big city. And
it's the #1 sports market. They aren't going to trash the #1 sports market.
Exactly.
And the biggest city in the United States, biggest city in the world, basically. They just don't want to do that because they know that they're going to have how many million people screaming at them, and that's why they do what they do. They're national, you know?
I don't have a problem with New York fans. I respect them. I think Mets fans get a little silly sometimes. But I respect the New York.
Because when you look at it, I mean, basically, newspaper-wise, if you look at the New York Times, say, media, and the Philadelphia Times,
Inquirer,
Daily
you
News,
see a huge difference.
Yeah, and I mean, all the people at ESPN know he's going to come from the big city. But all I'm asking out of these people is, why do you consistently trash Philadelphia when Boston, New York, Cleveland, LA, and all of the big sports cities do the exact same thing?
One final thing I have to say. How come when the Eagles are in first place in the NFC East and the Cowboys win 1 out of 3 games, why are the Cowboys still getting picked by over half of the ESPN analysts to win the Super Bowl? I don't know.
Well, I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl. I still think the Cowboys are going to win the division. But they're America's team, which they aren't.